What's up, movie fans, and welcome back to a brand new episode. My name's Pat Carrick.
I'm David Mayer.
And I'm the guy that just got abducted by these two gingers.
And this is the show where we have no choice but to drive 100 miles to the closest cinema to watch the latest movies so we can help you decide whether it's worth the drive.
Okay, so on this episode we are going to see The Justice League. It's directed by Zack Snyder and other people as well, and it stars Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, Amy Adams, Ezra Miller, Ray Fisher, Jeremy Irons, and a host of other names. The Justice League follows the story of Bruce Wayne, and he's been reinvigorated and reaffirmed his faith in humanity, so now he's putting together a team to help fight against some of the greatest evils the earth has ever seen.
Oh, good one. Well, first off, I've made this journey quite a few times with my old pal Rich back here, and one in particular we went to go see Batman vs. Superman.
We'll never get that time back. That is a movie that is just a turd that just will not flush. I tried watching it again this morning just to get ready for Justice League, and I woke up and it felt like I was watching a different movie halfway through it again.
Yeah. I have that. I've fallen asleep. I've watched that movie maybe 3 or 4 times, and I would say probably twice I've fallen completely asleep and missed like the middle section of the film. It's very long and very, very dull.
I think the worst thing about it was a huge letdown for anyone who grew up watching Superman, Batman, whether it be in the earlier films, cartoons, comic books, whatever it might be. To see these two on screen together was so exciting. Everyone got pumped for it and was just let down.
What it did do was set up the Justice League movie.
Yes.
It gave us our first glimpse of all the characters. I didn't particularly like the way they introduced the characters we hadn't seen.
Just in the DC world, they've had trouble translating the story information to the people watching. I feel like all these movies have been written by 15 different people and directed by 30.
The little shining light of grace, which a lot of people feel is Wonder Woman. Did you see that, Rich?
I did go see Wonder Woman as well. Again, super apprehensive, and I'd like to say I enjoyed it. There was a lot of plot points that they put in there that made you feel like they were going to be really important, and characters as well that they made you feel that were going to be really important and didn't amount to anything, and you could have totally cut them out of the movie. But it had some genuine funny stuff and some really quality action scenes. And I gotta say this, she is devastatingly good looking.
She is.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's hard to look at. It's like the sun sometimes.
It's a jumping off point. It was kind of heralded as this rebirth of the DCEU, as being, they finally cracked it.
Yeah.
I don't think they finally cracked it. I think they give themselves a lot of good stuff to work with, and I hope that's what they build on for this movie. The problem with this movie is going to be, as we've discussed, so many people involved in it. We know there's been extensive reshoots. We know the film was, some reports say it was almost completely rewritten by Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
And that is going to cause issues. If they keep the aesthetic, if they keep the kind of the forward momentum from Wonder Woman, then that's going to be definitely a positive. Okay, so we're wheeling up to the cinema now. Pretty excited, slightly apprehensive, wondering which way this is going to go.
I am pretty excited.
Fantastic.
Win or lose, I'm excited to see this.
Let's go see it then.
All right, let's go check this out.
Come on, Rich.
There's buckles everywhere back here.
Initial thoughts, Rich? You can go first on this one, seeing as you're our guest today.
I don't know. This movie, like, a good analogy for me would be, it felt like driving down a gravel road in a truck with no suspension. There were a few smooth bits. You're like, oh, this is going well.
Yeah.
And then a lot of parts where you're just getting the crap rattled out of you and you just can't get comfortable. And the perfect description for this movie is clunky. The dialogue was clunky, like the plot points were clunky. I thought there was a lot of stuff that didn't need to be in there, that were in there. I come out feeling like real middle ground, which isn't not what you're looking for in a movie.
Clunky's a good word.
Clunky is a good word. I half really enjoyed it and half really, really, really hated it and got kind of angry with it at the same time.
And your hopes are so high, right? And like I said, we're trying to be...
I gotta say, my hopes weren't that high.
Oh,
I wanted
through.
it to be good. You want every movie to be good, but I came into it kind of with fairly low expectations based on our DCEU fare so far.
I gotta tell you, gentlemen, I got a little bit of enjoyment out of that. It had its problems, there was plenty of them, but I had many moments of enjoyment. I think it was a bit of a nerdgasm in a few different spots that I got a lot of thrills from.
In a few spots, I think it probably was.
Can you get on my page there?
I know where you're coming from. I think it's going to be interesting to see the scores on this one when it comes down to weighing up the things you enjoyed versus the overall, objective review of the movie. But cast first of all, I quite liked. Ben Affleck maybe isn't so great. Gal Gadot.
Oh, I think that's a very kind way of putting it. Man, he was bad in that movie. Holy cow. As Bruce Wayne, he is horrific, and whoever was writing his lines did a horrific job. I don't know. I gotta stick to my guns. Ben Affleck is not a good actor.
I don't know what you guys are crying about. I thought he was all right.
Oh,
You thought you liked him
such
as
a
Bruce
pessimist.
Wayne?
I thought he was convincing. I kind of like his look. I think he's got the like he actually looks like a comic book Bruce Wayne.
Because he's got a square jaw.
I don't see the hatred that Rich does.
Gal Gadot, great again. I mean,
she's
I
awesome.
don't think they developed any of the character really at all.
Yeah.
Apart from through some sort of ham-handed conversational pieces.
Sure.
I wasn't as taken back by her beauty this time. Also, I'm not taken aback. She is shockingly attractive. I thought she was the strongest part of the movie as far as the acting was concerned. I thought she nailed it.
What about Ezra Miller?
I liked him, and I also quite liked his Flash.
Yeah.
I think some of the most successful effects in that movie were in the Flash run.
That pulled me back a bit because of how they did the similar scene in the X-Men movies.
Yeah.
I thought they did a lot better job because it was a lot more fun, but he's flailing his arms while he runs a little bit.
Yeah.
For
It's
someone.
a bit of a prancy prance run.
Yeah,
isn't
it's
it?
not like a real efficient, like I'm Usain Bolt sprinting
Yeah,
run. It's
yeah.
more of
It's a bit of a swing your arms about.
But I think
kind
he's a bit prancy in general.
Cyborg.
Again, I enjoyed Cyborg. I liked the portrayal. I think it was a good acting job, and I think he looked good. Massive package, which was slightly disconcerting.
You think you would get rid of something like that if you were an actual cyborg? Because let's be honest, a massive package is always just getting in the way.
Maybe that's where he keeps the batteries.
What about Aquaman? Jason Momoa.
Fine.
Yeah, I think it did good. I think towards the end there, they pushed the character a little, with the tough guy stuff, a little too far, but I don't think that was his fault. Again, I think that's another dialogue script thing.
My major nitpick of this whole thing is that it's just really a shame that they decided to do something different for no reason, in the sense of Marvel introducing all their main characters in their own solo films to begin with, and then having them all come together. I think that would have benefited this type of film much more. I think it worked in the Avengers for a reason.
Yeah, I think you're right. If you lay the groundwork, if you've already built a bit of a universe, when you do something like introduce a character seemingly out of the blue, it's much more accessible for a viewer who doesn't already know the story. Maybe it's a geeky thing with me, but I quite like the Barry Allen backstory. They literally just sum it up.
Yeah.
And I would like to have seen it expanded, but now they've kind of shot themselves in the foot with that one.
Yeah, well, they've done a lot of that.
Yeah.
I think the pacing of the film itself was actually quite good. There was never really a dull moment for me, but I totally wanted to see more. I know there's more in the edits and the cuts and everything like that, and the actual studio, Warner Brothers, wanted to cut this thing down to a clean 2 hours, so they could probably get more session times in the theaters just to cash in, because they have spent a truckload on this film. I think $300 million with the 2 different edits from the directors and whatnot.
You could tell with those sets.
Yeah.
The sets were unbelievable.
I can already say that there will be a director's cut of this, which I think I'll definitely watch, because I think I'll get far more enjoyment out of the film.
Again, it really bugs me, this thing that DC do of shooting so much in front of what must be the world's largest green screen.
100%.
Oh my god, the
100%.
green screen in this.
They obviously spent a shitload of money on the sets and then just plonk a green screen behind it, and they don't match the two up. There's no blending there. The practical effects versus visual effects just do not work for me.
And right out of the gates, you could tell they did a couple scenes that were really well done. Like the first 2 or 3, and you go, that looked clean and crisp, and then they go into the next scene, you're like, what happened?
We didn't really talk about the villain, but there's not much to talk about.
No.
What other than he was 100% CGI?
He looked
He
terrible.
looked like he was in a video game.
Yeah.
Yeah, they totally should have used the actor for that role. And his motives were just kind of, I want to take over the world. It's something that we've seen time and time again. It's probably something that we would expect to see from a Justice League film. And I'm not giving an excuse, I'm just saying,
Well,
it's whatever.
And there was a striking resemblance to other villains we've seen in movies before. The villain in Wonder Woman, really similar, lots of reds and blacks.
Similar.
You look at Age of Ultron, really similar,
Yeah.
lots of reds, blacks, darks.
Yeah.
He's got horns, he's from another dimension, it's the same thing.
But I guess at the end of the day, the film was more about the Justice League, and when it comes to the Justice League-y parts, that was where the film was really good for me.
With regards to the characters, the Justice League, yeah, I'd see another one. Definitely there's enough there to make me think that the DCEU is moving in the right direction. I think it was certainly better than Batman vs Superman.
Better than Wonder Woman?
I don't think it was better, but I might have enjoyed it more. But anyway, it's time to get some scores for this. I enjoyed the ride. It wasn't great, but it was enjoyable.
I was gonna
reckon
make
I'm
a drunken sex analogy there, but I'll just leave it. Sorry.
I think I'm going to give this one somewhere around 78.
I'm not as positive as you guys, and I tend to be a little darker and a little harder on these movies.
That's why we got you.
Yeah, in comparison to other superhero movies, it just didn't hold up. Some of the acting was good, some of it was terrible. If we're going out of 100 miles, I would say 55.
I got a little bit more of a sense of wonder and enjoyment watching these heroes come together. I'm going to give this 65. I've got hopes for the DCEU moving forward. If they get a great director with a clear vision and just let that filmmaker make that movie, then I think we could see some really good stuff from all these characters.
So there you go, that's our review of the Justice League. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to hit like and comment. We really want some feedback from you. Give us some feedback on Rich, tell us what you thought.
Only good things.
Cheerio from me.
Cheerio from me.
And Pat, do you want ass, cash, or grass before